All right, we're live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Wolf's Den Radio Show with your hosts, Wolf King, Chaz World Almighty, and Xbox Fiend. We're gonna get into some crazy ass news stories. We're gonna dare to know, use that free thought and rationality, all that good stuff that makes all the world possible. So I got one thing to say to you: step into the den at your own risk. And bow, wow. All right. So, Chaz, my man, you want to talk about Dro making it legal? All right. What particular issues on that? What one?
Well, I just want to talk about why people should be legalizing weed. There is no argument for having it illegal. It should never have been made illegal in the first place. Any argument you can bring up to make weed illegal is an argument that could be used against alcohol, could be used against tobacco, could be used against work. It is simply nonsense. It's an intoxicating substance, sure. Then you have guidelines like you do with alcohol. You can purchase it, you can take it, you can use it, but don't use it whilst you're at work because that will go against the policy that you agreed on with the company that you work for. Don't drive whilst you're under the influence because it will possibly impact your driving and make you unsafe. That's just common courtesy to the rest of the road users. Um, and yeah, if we did that, we would have a situation where our government wouldn't be wasting money on trying to stop people from doing something that's even less harmful than drinking or smoking tobacco, and would actually be collecting tax revenue for it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Because actually, not to cut you off, but actually, I remember this study that said like if weed was legal in all 50 states, it would have the potential to produce $3 billion in tax revenue. So that
well,
right there is going to be like the potential for some good economic growth. And just one more thing, viewers, I want you to stick around on the screen, listen to the Wolf's Den Radio Show, because we're gonna be dropping the link after a while so that you, the viewers, can actually come in here and actually give your thoughts on the show and stuff like that. So back to you, Chess.
yeah, I mean, this is the thing. It's not only just a tax revenue that you have to think about. It's the amount of jobs. It's the freedom that people be able to have to secure their own living. Say we legalize cannabis, and I'm somebody who's out of work. Well, I can get some cannabis seeds together. I can grow some cannabis plants. I can sell it to people, and then I can make some money. I can, you know, maybe even eventually build myself up to where I'm growing quite a few plants, and I'm supplying to shops. There'll be shops open, cafes where places will sell cannabis. There will be increases in the amount of food people would want to eat, and we can give these people healthy, good options to eat. That's the funny thing. We can see an increase in food consumption, which will be good for the economy, which would allow for more jobs. Um, so there'll be more jobs in pretty much every single industry simply because of the legalization of cannabis. It has way more than just simply taxing the quantity that is sold. There'd be so much tax. I think 3 billion might actually be quite a conservative figure.
Yeah,
Our current government here in the UK and the governments in a lot of places in America spend close to that amount trying to keep it illegal.
yeah,
Stop them doing that.
another big point on this is that also the authorities would be focusing on harder drugs, things shit like heroin and cocaine and stuff like that. You know, the stuff that really can mess up the human body and shit. Also on this, also cracking down on drunk driving. You know, things that really impact people. You know, in society. You know,
Well,
as
we could
opposed
actually
to
have police
demonizing
officers
potheads.
walking around the streets. We can have police officers patrolling so that response times are quicker. Um, we wouldn't be stretching our police force so thin. We wouldn't be basically turning some 16-year-old kid smoking a bit of doobage and selling a bit to his friends into a criminal who then has a criminal record, can't get a job, and so only has one option, turning to crime. It's like we make society hard for people to survive on anything but some criminal action, and then we demonize them because they've committed that criminal action. And don't even get me started on that bullshit where it's now illegal to give food to the fucking homeless in America. Oh, that thing fucked me off to no end. I'm sorry, right, but America says it's a Christian country, right? And it's built on Christian morals and Christian values because 80% of it's Christian, yeah? I don't remember the part in the Bible where Jesus was going on about, you know, guns, no abortions, and him hating faggots. I think he said a lot about sharing and helping the poor, actually. And it's just fucking ridiculous, that whole story. I saw it, I was watching Russell Brand's Truths on YouTube earlier, and I saw that story, and fuck, that made me angry that we're arresting a 90-year-old war veteran, all for feeding the fucking poor. I mean, how ridiculous can you fucking get? This is just the most obnoxiously stupid thing. We're going to waste some money on something that's not a problem just to throw away more money at it. Yeah, good one.
Yeah, like the war on drugs. It's just something to prop up like just some false crusade. You know, I mean we're honestly and I actually gotta like give it to you, Chaz, on this one in the fact that we are a nation of innovators. You know, that's how the whole idea of progress got started. You know, and it was only through humans collectively, like applying their reasoning skills, like to produce something as productive as various commodities. You know, with like marijuana, obviously we could utilize it, but there are several biases in that. But I feel like as modernity progresses, you know, ultimately we're going to see this thing ultimately become legal, and with it it's going to be something. It's going to be a big improvement for Western civilization in general. I think within America, within the UK, it's going to be awesome.
It makes so much fucking product too. Yeah. I mean, there is so many things you can do with extracts and bits you can take and solutions you can make from cannabis plants. And it can make everything. It can make foodstuffs. It can make plastics. It can make sun lotions. In fact, THC evolved in the plant to protect it from the radiation of the sun. So you can do some very amazing things. These cannabinoids also help us. And the only thing that people can try and bring up is, oh, THC causes reefer madness. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. THC-like compounds do that, including THC. But CBD in cannabis helps counteract those effects. That's why there's loads of doolally people drinking absinthe and not so many doolally people smoking cannabis or drinking cannabis because you can like mix it up into shakes and stuff. And it's just this is a reason to legalize it, because then you can strength manage. You can buy what is suitable for you. You can have CBD oils to go along with it in order to.
I was going to bring that. My friends in Colorado own one of the biggest breweries in Colorado, and they actually developed a plant that is only CBD, and they call it Charlotte's Web after the girl that was.
Yeah. Oh, you know those people, do you? I read about them. I follow Cannabis Consortium UK on Facebook.
Yeah, I grew up with them actually.
Yeah, it's high in THC. It's a medicinal plant for dealing with. When they given it to a girl who had like cancer or some shit like that?
She had something that was giving her like thousands of seizures a day.
Yeah, that's right, and it was acting as an anti-seizure. I mean, that's just the thing.
She went from thousands a week to only having a couple a month.
Yeah, medicine made from weed does stuff better than our current used antidepressants and our current used anti-seizure medication, because that shit just stops working, and then you have to take a more of a dose, and then you have to go on to something else and take more of a dose of that eventually. With reefer, you can just keep on moving through strains and never build up a tolerance to it.
Mm-hmm.
and the drug will still have the same effect, and that is what it should be. And so what if some people want to use it for fun? Is that the reason why we stop it? The second somebody might be enjoying it, is that when it becomes bad? That's just fucking stupid, because we don't apply the same thing to everything else in our lives, do we? We don't ban people from hang gliding. We don't ban people from driving cars.
Because
drinking alcohol.
Yeah, exactly, and the reason why, it's not just the fact of that whole prohibition thing back in the old days. It's the fact that we put this information out there so people are aware. They are, familiar with what they're consuming and like the after effects that come after it, right? But you'll never hear anyone talk about, oh, let's ban alcohol or cigarettes, because that would go against the individual autonomy that's regarded as one of the important rational enlightenment principles that creates Western civilization. To do that will be totalitarian, sort of like the same thing. And I don't mean to invoke Godwin's law, but Hitler banned fucking cigarettes too. But that's a fucking problem.
Do you know the best thing? I've done some blindingly stupid things when I was drunk, yeah? Which I wouldn't have done necessarily if I was sober. It was because I was drunk and I was, I'd gotten in a self-righteous mood, because of alcohol just turns you into a little narcissist. That's what it does. And I broke into a police station because I was drunk. Do you know the most trouble I've gotten into while smoking a joint? None, because I sat in my house and the closest I went to leaving it was getting a takeaway.
Yep.
That's
and the medicines I take. And those things are restricted like crazy, and I have to sign a weird contract with them that I can't get them from any other doctors. And I can only have so many. They can only be refilled so many days apart. And there's so many weird restrictions on it that I have I don't smoke pot by choice. There's no problem with it. I just don't smoke it. But after the stuff I have to go through for my actual prescriptions, there's no way I would deny someone a medicine that works.
Yeah, I'm not telling people to smoke. Yeah, no, I'm not telling people to smoke weed.
Right.
I'm telling people to. I'm advocating for people to have the option to do it if they want to. I don't think people should necessarily smoke weed. Yeah, fine, have a joint every once in a while. Certainly don't do it to extremes, but everything isn't good to extremes. That's true in and of all things in nature.
Tylenol will kill you. You do it to an extreme, like it's.
Yeah, water will kill you if you do it to an extreme. Oxygen will kill you if you do it to an extreme. There's a condition by where you get too much oxygen in your body. And no, hypoxia is when you starve the brain of oxygen.
Yeah, starved and they birth. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, hypoxia is what gives people the high during asphyxie wanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so we're all settled on this. The drug war is dead, and weed is ultimately going to be legal.
Yeah, but I mean, people out there, you need to vote, yeah? You really need to be pushing for this. You need to be getting involved with...
yesterday, all the states that had put it on the ballot won.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is good stuff, but America needs to do more. It needs to become decriminalized on a federal scale, too. Yeah. And once that does that, then perhaps we can start seeing that really we can take back our politics and our democracy from the hands of the bastards who are trying to manipulate and destroy the system for their own gains. Mm-hmm. The politicians who try and get rid of the NHS because their donors and them have shares in private healthcare and would stand to make thousands, if not millions, of pounds from selling it, just like they sold the Royal Mail recently. After the first time it turned a profit in years, they sold it over to private companies for $1 billion less than it's actually fucking worth. And do you know who they sold it to? Gideon fucking Osborne's friend. He's also known as George Osborne, and he's the sort of second in charge in a way, and he's the one that's in charge of our budget and all of our fucking money. And he's the one that doesn't even understand how an economy works. And all he has done is said, well, let's just tax the poor more and then give a tax break to the rich, and turn around and gone, this is austerity, we're all in it together. How about you go fuck yourself, George Osborne? That's why everybody booed you at the fucking Olympics when you were handing out a gold medal to the disabled, because not only you parked in a disabled spot while you went and got yourself a cheeseburger like the cunt face that you are, you'd also cut fucking loads of funding to people who are disabled and have fucking blood on your hands.
Exactly.
They can clean it off with the money, though.
Mm.
Okay, guys, I got this clip of Alan West. He's a black conservative. I'm gonna have him talk here about how he thinks that the Democratic Party is apparently just a new KKK. I just want you to hear this quick clip real quick.
When you look at what the Democratic side did this time in certain races, are they just as fear-mongering, just as hateful, and really willing to push that hate button just as easily as someone on the other side, or perhaps even, in your opinion, more so? Look, you look at the history of the Democrat Party, it has always been about fear-mongering, intimidation of the voters, coercion. You know, they're the party of segregation, they're the party of the Ku Klux Klan, they're the party of Jim Crow, they're the party of poll taxes and literacy tests and things of this nature. It's just that they continue to do it, except with a different type of tactic in the 21st century. You know, the Republicans have always tried to run on issues and getting people to understand the policy.
Okay, so that was Alan West on a conservative talk show talking about how the Democratic Party is the part of segregation. It's the new Ku Klux Klan, and I got to be honest with you, the cognitive dissonance is just so ridiculous that it makes me want to like triple facepalm if it was possible, like a third hand just coming out of nowhere. Because there has been no like political party in this country that has been a bigger opposition to minority rights than the Republican Party. I mean, not too long ago they had Cliven Bundy talking about, oh well, weren't the Negroes better off as slaves? You know, instead of living off this welfare system, but he's living on land and shit like that. But you know, and with the recent with the recent shootings of all these young black folks, specifically in where was it that Michael Kidd from what was it, Ferguson? All this. I mean, is that Republican based? I mean, with that response, a police state, against all that, against free speech and segregation. That was a right wing tactic for the last several years back in the 60s and early on. I mean, that's complete nonsense. I mean, if it wasn't for the concept of social progressivism, actually acknowledging that we as humans make up a society, and if you give like rights and equality to other people, that alone could help make it better. I mean, we wouldn't even be talking about this. I probably wouldn't even be having this radio show right now if we didn't have that social progress, that advancement. So all that nonsense is ridiculous. But panel, what do you guys think?
It was only one day after these last elections, whenever they got the majority. Not one day after that, they started talking about how it's actually the Democrats that want to fearmonger and use the war on women. Not excusing all the right-wingers that have talked all kinds of shit about women. And then the same thing like you're saying about being the racist comments as well. And now they're projecting it not one day after they've won all these elections. Have they flipped it to them being attacked to them just saying that it's the other party doing all of it? That's all I had to say about it.
Chaz, your view?
Yeah, I find your politics amazing because of just how batshit insane it is. And the funny thing is these people are all working on the same side. I mean, what's really going on here, if we're being honest, is you've got a bunch of people, a small group of people who are like an aristocracy. They've got most of the money, and we serve them. Yeah? And we just play pick your dictator. And what's really going on is this very small group of like-minded people wearing different colours, going on TV, and all they're doing is creating an argument that's being put out by the media and placated to everybody, and a narrative's being controlled there, whereby these people are an opposition. How many Democrats have you really actually seen oppose right-wing politics? Not very many, and the number keeps dwindling. How many right-wing people do you really see going out to vote against some of the stuff that the left comes out with? Very fucking little. They're colluding with the companies, with the media. They're all colluding together to shit all over a big, huge majority of people. because that's what happens. You get a small little group and they want to manipulate and control each other, and they realize that they can do it much better if they work together. And that's what's going on. And what they're doing is they're keeping us arguing over left versus right, me versus you, yeah? Splitting the divide amongst us, creating these kind of taking advantage of our sort of way we identify with labels and then attack others for the labels they identify with. And they're using that, they're encouraging that, and they're exploiting it, and they're exploiting people because of it. And all we do is, you think you've really changed anything? No. Do you know who wins every single fucking election in America? The party that spends the most fucking money. You don't think they're all getting together and taking it in fucking turns to be in charge? They're still going to give each other exact same stuff they were always going to put through in the first place. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, they don't want your last dime anymore. Now they want your last penny.
Yeah, they want your last penny. And the other thing is, mate, they're all in it to fucking together. They're all... There is corruption there. It's not a conspiracy theory. There's a genuine interest to keep things the way they are, because it's a society that they can exploit. The things they don't like is some of the freedoms that we have in, like, the internet, because we can stop them exploiting us. We can stop companies from exploiting us. I mean, right now we've got companies like Malwarebytes and Norton and all of that selling us products, yeah, holding back vital security we need in order to protect ourselves, giving us shitty free copies that are okay, but they're not really going to stop anything. It's like buying a condom with some holes in. You'll stop some semen, and you might get lucky in the, you might not poke through the hole, but it's just kind of it's exploiting people. With that, pay us £100 a year if you want your computer protected. It's a racket. It's like a Matthias state within inside our market. No, we should be educating people for the modern age and teaching them how to code, how viruses work, how a computer runs. Kids should be way more computer literate than they are being at the moment, and they're not being given the full education. We should be spending more money on education and more money on healthcare. Well, yeah, America shouldn't, exactly. But it should also be spending way less money on military. Isn't it funny how America can send troops but no fucking doctors?
Right.
I feel like we've kind of like stretched off about it, but you did have a good point with regards to the education. Yeah, it's not that like liberal democracy is like the new KKK. It's the fact that if you give more people at the ground bases like the same level of resources and and opportunities by which they could actually help themselves and stuff like that. Well,
that's the funny thing. It's not even the liberals. It's just the right-wing authoritarians versus the right-wing authoritarians. There is no liberals in Senate. It's all a bunch of people who are in the similar boat. They're all in the same sort of 3/4 quarters of the political spectrum, and that's what it is.
The few that seem genuine, whether they're genuine or not, that are liberal, they're just a small minority in that they might, if they're genuine, there's only a few liberal voices.
Well, I mean, they're either going to join the. See, what you'll do is with politics, you've got people who you don't. It's trying to like almost pigeonhole people's thoughts. Because there must be one stance the Republican Party is taking as a whole, yeah? So, you're going to get people who will agree with most of what the Republicans say, but some of the things the Democrats say, and they're going to run for one of those two parties, because if they run for one of those two parties, they're going to get elected. If they don't, then they won't get elected. It's a system made to keep it unfair, to keep that corruption in place. It's just like with this whole Gamergate thing, as I've said before. You've got a small group of people colluding together, looking to push their narrative, looking to control the situation for their own gain, for their own benefit.
Well, guys,
bullshit. It has to stop.
Yeah, exactly. But let me just play this quick clip just so you guys could get a little bit more base about where I'm coming from, because like here is like this C-SPAN caller like with some comments about the President Obama. Let us hear.
Good morning. Can you hear me again? Yes. I would just like to say that the Republicans and I'm a Republican, please do not overreach. I know they're going to overreach, but I'm telling you, if you advocate for the repeal of Obamacare and you get too extremes, then Hillary Clinton will be elected president in 2016. This is about race. The Republicans hate that nigger Obama. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. We're not going to use that kind of language. As we move on to Beverly in Cary, North Carolina, you can certainly make your point as you cross the line when you use language like that. And so to our viewers and listeners, I want to apologize.
Okay, so that was quote unquote a Republican caller calling Obama a nigger because of his stance with regard to the Affordable Health Care Plan, and it's not like this is essentially socialism. It's not like he socialized the health care. It's he made it more affordable so people could be more prompted to engage in the system. Hold on. But apparently the liberal side of this, it's not like the Democratic side is actually perfect. There's some things that I really want to see actually be improved upon. But if this is quote unquote the Republican side, apparently the North incarnated within the 21st century, then it's not. It sounds a lot like. It doesn't really sound like it's changed a lot since the 1960s. With regard to just calling the incumbent president like a nigger because apparently he doesn't side completely with the Republicans, and actually he's a centrist, so I don't really see the point of all that drivel. Now a lot of people are criticizing this clip, saying that it's probably a plant, but I mean that's the interesting thing. You can't distinguish whether or not he's real or a Poe or not. That's the interesting thing. But what's your guys' thoughts? I'm curious.
Xbox, do you want to go first?
No, you're fine. I really don't have a ton to say about it.
Right, I'm going to use some words in some very good contexts, because when it comes to the Obamacare, all Obama really there, if you want to use the N-word about him, then you can say, yeah, he was a house nigger in that thing, or a White House nigger. If you really want to be really deflammatory, you don't have to use language like this, but oh well, I'm using it because that's what this guy said. And you can even make it with a silent triple K if you like, if that helps you sleep. But I'm sorry, right? It's more of this nonsense behavior again. There's no way you need to use language like that. And the thing is, right, Obama, all he did was give money to the fucking health insurance companies. The public didn't benefit from Obamacare, but insurance companies did. Mm-hmm. Now I wonder how much insurance companies have probably given to Obama. Well, how much do you think the financial sector's worth, and how much of that do you think comes from insurance? A fuckload. Do you know why? Insurance is based on gambling. It's a fucking it's got the same laws as turf accountancy. It comes from gambling. What it is your policy is your betting slip. You're betting your insurance company that something bad's going to happen to you, and they're betting the odds against that it won't. And there is like 1,000,001 chance you'll have a car accident, yeah? On any given day, there's 1,000,001 chance you'll be involved in a car accident. So for every 1,000,001 drivers on the road, only one of them is going to have an accident, yeah? It's going to need to claim. So they're going to make money. It's stacked in their favor. And so how much money do you think they've got to throw at people like Obama when they go, well, how about the government guarantees us a wage, and then, we can use that to subsidize the prices for this thing? And what they've really done is they've used that money to subsidize the pricing further, move more stuff over to countries that have lower tax laws and in ways that they can embezzle the tax, and the government's helping them fucking do it. Yeah, and that's exactly what it was.
And another thing, they want to talk about like Obama's a socialist or a communist and stuff like that because like the tax thing. I mean, how exactly? Like, let's just scroll back the clock. Exactly how many times, like with President Reagan, how many times did he raise like taxes? 1, 2, 3. Oh wait, 11 times, right? So wouldn't he be like a socialist or a communist by that logic? No, he was a guide to Republicans apparently. So I mean, like the cognitive dissonance is overwhelming. But Xbox, you got something to say?
Yeah, no, I agree pretty much with both y'all said. And I don't like, Chaz is right on with, they've just legalized insurance, just like a car insurance that you have to pay into. Now the insurance companies are guaranteed a paycheck.
That's exactly what it was about.
It didn't help it got more people on it that weren't on it, but that's just more money for them as well.
Do you know what? I wonder how many working middle class people, which is what the political system is set up to be a group of, I wonder how many of them actually own wings of hospitals and stuff like that, own shares in big business to do with hospitals and pharma and stuff like that. Of course, people like Obama don't want you to sue Monsanto. That's the sort of thing you'd expect out the Republicans. Why? Because if Monsanto got sued, Obama would make less fucking money, and all, you know, certain people who he represents would make less money. That's what's going on there. That's why they don't want these people to be sued and all of this sort of stuff, because they lose money. David Cameron is invested in private medical things here, and whenever he privatized more of the NHS, money. Because if they got rid of the NHS tomorrow, we would then have to buy health insurance, and it would be just like the American system, and it wouldn't fucking work. And then everybody would be begging the government to pay some money towards, so that people can afford the insurance, because the insurance companies will just keep driving up the prices, because there'll always be claims.
Look at it on a scale. The rich are getting richer from it, and the poor are getting poorer from it.
Yes, and it's because those few people who make up the rich are working together. And what they're doing is they're going and getting a bunch of people into office who will do what they say and paying them vast amounts of money. And these people then collecting a huge paycheck. We're voting them in. They're then treating us like shit. They're there to represent their own interests and their corporate interests and not the interests of the people. So they're not really a democracy. They're controlling the state so that fringe parties can't be heard from, and they're trying to stop the spread of free speech whenever possible. They're trying to control the narrative, and that's fascism. And why are they doing it? Well, that's what authoritarians do. The more authoritarian you get, the more fascist you become. And it doesn't matter whether you think you're left-wing or you're right-wing in America. I can show you the political compass now. Everybody is in the same top right-hand corner together. The difference between your left and right wing is, you know, pretty much fucking minuscule. And it's the same here, and it's the same the world over, because there's people just controlling the narrative. I'll tell you about a leader if you want. Hugo Chavez of Uruguay. He there has legalized abortion, legalized gay marriage, legalized marijuana. He only takes 10% of his paycheck. The other 90% he donates to charity, and he lives a modest life like a normal human being. He lives the same life as he did prior to that. He's not some Eton educated twat who comes out of a very posh, very exclusive university to then go into and been in all these posh, very exclusive clubs, and then him and all of his friends in these clubs, whose parents were all in these clubs, are now in these things. You know, all of these presidents seem to go to Georgetown University. All of these presidents seem to go to this university or that university, but it's generally a very exclusive university, and they're in the very exclusive.
That's why I don't think and Illuminati and all this other bullshit.
No, it's not Illuminati. No, Wolf. This shit is actually going on. It's proven. Look at the records of people in your country, in your political systems, where they went to school, what they've done with their lives, who they're connected to. They're all in bed with each other. Nick Clegg, who is the Liberal Democrat leader of this country, he went to school with the Labour, the mayor of London, who's a conservative and a very senior conservative, long-serving conservative, called Boris Johnson.
Yeah, it's
so they're all friends together. They're all in the same clubs. You look at it.
That's why I say you can't bitch about it too much, because if I was in the group, I mean, I would do what's best for me. It's more the system that we allow. Because I mean, can you say if you were that rich, you wouldn't want to be richer, kind of thing? Like, empathy and stuff would keep me from it, but it's more the system that we allow these not just families but lines and friends to keep going that way.
Yeah, no, what's going on is these people, they're going off to like Georgetown University and places like that, and I'm being serious, and you can check this all out for yourself because it's all on the internet. There's records there. They just won't ever expect you to look at them. And you go and look at the Georgetown records and stuff like that, and you can find photos of them with their what do you call it? Like with their buddies that they're now working in the Conservative Party with, who they're sat in benches with, and they were in drinking clubs. There are photos of the senior Conservative leaders all at university together, and they're all just giving their friends jobs. There's Conservative. Yeah, and you know what they're doing in America too? You've got politicians, some of your senators, all of them pretty much, will be giving friends jobs. There's a guy over here who gave some guy who's possibly might have been his gay lover a job and paying him a salary without really declaring it. And this is the sort of scary shit that is actually going on. This stuff isn't conspiracy theories. This isn't Alex Jones nonsense. No, this is the real shit that is actually going on.
It's simple. It's a matter of checking the mathematics and like the economics behind it. I mean, and the mechanics. I mean, there's a reason why they call that shit the invisible hand. You could obviously see it's not even a matter of it being invisible. You could trace like the people and the minds like behind this this rigged system. But speaking of which, I want to talk about a certain Yale University dropout who apparently has this all figured out through just looking at the observations of the president. Guess who it is? You guessed it, Glenn Beck. All right. Hold on a second. Let me just warm this up. Hold on.
Yeah, I watched.
While you're setting it up, I saw a funny thing with Glenn Beck. Yeah, it was like two photos of him, one from the past and one from now. Yeah, and it was Glenn Beck saying that Obama. Like the price of fuel going up was surely meaning like war or something. Oh yeah, that Obama was going to kill the economy, and then he was like, gas under $3 a barrel, the government's going to be taking us into war. So it's like, oh, gas goes up, it's the president doing a bad thing. Gas comes down, oh, it's the president doing the bad thing. Bloody lunacy.
Okay, what's up, D? Anyway, sorry, that was my bad. Busy. Being a date and shit. All right, loading it up, and here is the clip.
My feeling is that the president is disconnected from the American people entirely. You saw that there was no humility in his press conference today, and he is also disconnected from the Democrats. Hillary Clinton has already separated herself, so she's now going to play the moderate. He announced yesterday, I mean, when the election is still going on, that's usually when the president is quiet. He came out yesterday and said that by Christmas he will have his executive order on illegal immigration. I think this president, and I hope this is not true, but I think this president is going to get more radical. He doesn't have anything to lose. He is going to spread his leg of the left. Yeah.
Okay, now if you catch the last part of that clip, he said he is going to super serve the Uber left. Now, I think that's personally hilarious because, like I said, this guy is a moderate type of liberal guy. I mean, it's not like he made universal health care possible. It's not like he took the guns away, and it's not like we're living in an Afrocentric government or anything like that. You know, things are still the same. I mean, there's been gradual shifts, and you know, some of that stuff is in the right place, but there's also certain aspects of it that could be addressed and could be actually built upon. But with this particular thing,
what did he say again?
It was in regards to illegal immigration and stuff. But he speculates that he's going to super serve the Uber left. So apparently, them immigrants, them Mexicans gonna come over here and take our jobs and all this. And it's like, I mean, he'll probably most likely make it on like a worker visa or something like that, or build up on the DREAM Act. Probably reaffirming that. But you know, apparently that's a communist scheme, and it doesn't even operate on that level. I mean, this guy, he'll probably produce a caveat for the right wing to scoff at, and then they're gonna say, oh well, no, that's not kissing my ass good enough. It's sort of like with the whole secular government thing with religious and non-religious. You could give them equality and stuff like that, but they're not gonna accept that because they believe their worldview is dominant, and therefore it should be served with every single degree of reality, and that's just not how it works. These people they shut down our government twice just for the sake of ideological differences, and that's what they wanted. They wanted a reality. They wanted a country that had no government services, that apparently couldn't ensure like freedom, like civil liberties and the rights of people collectively. They just want their ideology fulfilled to that highest degree, and this rhetoric, this demagoguery, it just manifests the reality that you can't work with unreasonable people. But what do you guys think? I'm curious.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to live in any of the ideologues' world. I wouldn't want to live in a full right-wing world, a full left-wing world, a central. If you stuck to just the ideology, I wouldn't want to live something like that.
Okay, just to be clear, right-wing and left-wing just refers to how much change the government that you are for. Left-wing means change pretty much for no reason, and right-wing means no change at all. It's not an ideology.
No, the ideologues that only go whatever the right wing says, they pick it because the right wing said it. Whether it's right or wrong or fits in their things. I'm just talking about the ideologues of it.
Yeah, basically what he's talking about is the way you play Bloods and Crips with your politics, where it's it's the left wing versus the right wing, it's the Democrats versus the Republicans, it's the Bloods versus the Crips. Well, I'm a West Coast Republican. Well, I'm an East Coast Democrat. Pow pow bang bang click click.
Right.
Yeah, that's not an ideologue though. That's just an idiot that is holding to one side.
Well, no, this is the thing. The way politics is being
we are talking about
explained to people. Yeah, but I mean, it's all part of the problem. The way politics is being explained to people is giving them these false notions, is causing people to think it's an us versus them thing. It's like when feminism gets put out there as being about a battle of the sexes. You get all of this women versus men nonsense come into it, and it just leads to man-hating. And that's what's going on. They keep us divided. They want you and I to disagree about whether or not there should be healthcare, when we should really be discussing whether or not these people should be making decisions that ultimately they benefit in.
That's where Glenn Beck is coming from. That's what Chaz is saying. Glenn Beck's coming from that. He's a product of it.
Yeah, he's part of the media. He's there to demonize Obama so that everybody will vote for the Republicans, so the system can do whatever it fucking likes, and you'll all go, we didn't want this from the Republicans. Well, too late, you got it. And then everybody will go, the Republicans didn't do what they promised, so we vote Democrats instead. And then the Democrats will get in, and then after a while people will get sick of them and them fucking things up, so the Republicans will get in and they'll take up the slack of what the Democrats were doing, and that's how they're going to keep doing it. And the party that will win is the party that is spending the most money. Which party will spend the most money? Well, the one all the companies are backing. Why? Well, can you guess?
Has there ever been a president, is there a president that you can think of that actually followed through on any of the promises that he technically couldn't, do in the first place?
Well, I'll say this much. The only person to ever walk into Parliament or a Senate with true intentions was Guy fucking Fawkes.
Bush took over and put the line-by-line thing where he can just take certain parts of things, and then he had also enacted the, I forget what it's called now, I can't come to my mind, but where he can overrule what Congress says and just enact something. And then Congress can come back and pretty much veto him after it's already in place and being dealt with.
Yeah, but that's a thing that he did that after he was elected. I'm saying is, did any of the presidents that you can think of make a promise that they actually, fulfilled? And you can attribute it directly to them?
Nope.
I can't.
The whole system's a fucking con. And it has been from the get-go. Because remember, this system is born out of a system by which a small class ran thing, an aristocracy, who took that power from kings, who took that power from churches, who took that power from other churches, who took that power from empires. You know.
If we're going back to the very beginnings of like the U.S., then I guess we could say George Washington kept his promise that he didn't actually want to have control of the government by leaving.
No, and I bet there's some along the way, but the way you phrased it the first time, I don't think there's any. Except for maybe Bush. I'd have to look back and see what he asked about. But to promise something before they got into office that you knew they couldn't fulfill because their office didn't give them that power, that's why I say only Bush, because he gave himself that power once he was in office. So I'd have to actually go back and see what he promised before.
Well, I was just pointing out with that all these promises that they have, they actually don't have that power to begin with.
Right.
Like when they go, we're going to make this budget like this, it's like you have no say over that.
Right.
Why are you making that promise?
Yeah, because I mean that's exactly what'll get them elected. They have to promise big. It's the same thing as religion. You know, you promise. The promises have to be big in order to include like the most people within that particular group. If the promises are big enough, you could seem like it has a semblance of substantiation, like some good reasons to accept it. Then they'll jump on it like flies on shit. That's just how it works. It's
executive order.
It's a typical tactic.
Executive order was the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Bush actually did have the authority to do whatever he wanted because of a certain thing in the Constitution which says during wartime you can suspend Congress and all like that.
Yeah.
Lincoln did it too.
I just don't know if he promised anything beforehand that he was able to do after he did that. Probably not. I agree with you. He probably didn't, but...
Oh, he was a fucking puppet.
He's the only one, and now Obama is the only two presidents I know that have used that power.
Of course they have, because they're trying to control things, and it's becoming harder, because society's getting more freer. We've got technology which allows us to call up information. We've got people spreading that information. There was this woman, right? Before, this woman and her photographs wouldn't have got out. There was this prostitute who has photos of the Chancellor in her house, and she claims that they had an affair, and that while he was there, he was doing cocaine and drinking wine. And do you know what? I fucking well believe it. Those people in there are some of the most devious shits going. Why? Because they have the ability to get away with whatever the fuck they like.
That goes more to what I was getting at to begin with, is that these people have made promises over and over and over again throughout, well, as we can tell, as American history and much of British history and probably much of every single other history, and we continue to fall for their lies.
Right.
There seems to be a problem here that's much greater than just right versus left or whatever you want to call it.
It goes to education.
Yeah. That's what. Go ahead.
Go ahead, man. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I was just gonna say, see, that's why that's the whole purpose of this radio show. Is I encourage my viewers, I encourage the people listening to me, even my critics. I encourage them to dare to know, dare to actually be wise and actually come to your own understanding on these things, like based on like the empirical research on what reality actually what it actually comports to, you know, with regard to reality. That's what I have to say about that. Go ahead, Xbox, and then we're gonna move over.
Let me add one thing. Well, the Google's at our fingertips now. The reason we get conned on a lot of it is because people aren't educated enough to know how the government works, who has what power, and if someone tells you something that sounds good, I mean, if you think they can do that, you vote them in. And with that, you have Google, like I said, you have Google at your fingertips now. Someone makes a claim, you can look up if they have the power to even fulfill that claim.
Yeah, but that's not quite the case. These people, like, we grew up in a time where we're not being educated, but beforehand we were actually being educated on, like, the Constitution and what it was saying and all like that, and we knew what the powers were, and so it doesn't really need to have Google there.
Yeah, but I think sometimes I think self-education is like usually the best thing. You know, I'm just talking about like legitimate, but what you got to say, Charles? What you got to say?
It is. Education is the best thing. Self-education even better. You have to know how to think, and once you know how to think, which a lot of people have put a lot of time into in the past, then you can think for yourself. And if you can think for yourself, you don't need other people to tell you how to think. If you don't need other people telling you how to think, there won't be other people telling you how to think.
And with that, we're gonna move on to the next and final story before I drop the link. This Baptist pastor goes over to like secular Europe, I believe, most like in like the Nordic states, and he's gonna interview some people, and a lot of them are you'll be surprised. But let's hear.
Do you believe in God? No. Why not? I never think that there's no God. Why should I believe in it? Arabs, people in Burma, I don't think will reach us all day, all time. Let me ask you about the explosive issue that I've read about in Burma, and correct me if I'm wrong. A couple of years ago, things like those issues with having same-sex marriage ceremonies in the church, and the parliament, making the church, start doing that in the church. So it was the parliament, the government said, you must ban same-sex marriage in the church. Wow. Mm-hmm. Wow. I think God has created love, not to make new generations, but to unite people. And that's all I have to say in that case. I believe same-sex attraction is a sin. When it comes to homosexuality, the best thing I can do is somebody say, God made you that way, and He wants you to stay that way. And God's all for homosexual relationship. And when you look in the Bible, you see what God says about homosexuality. You have to deny so much of Scripture in order to get that type of counsel. Do you believe in God? Yes. Oh, you told you. No. Do you believe in God? No.
All right, let me just stop it here. Okay, so that was the Baptist pastor, talking to a couple people. I believe there was one person in there that said yes, but the other people said no. And that's just the reality of Europe for the most part. Like a majority of people over there are indeed atheists. They don't see a reason to believe in the supernatural and all this stuff. Not necessarily uptight about that. And that is a major culture shock. Over there. Creationism is just a silly idea. Same-sex marriage isn't as uptight as it is the concern within the United States and stuff like that. And that just shows sort of like the development of different cultures and stuff like that. And what's a different issue with regard to one country is different with regard to another, and I believe that's with different advances and just like the different mindsets of people. But what's your guys' thoughts on this? I'm curious, panel.
I don't think this is new news to anyone. It's been well known that the Norwegian countries or whatever they're called, I always forget what to refer to them as.
Me too.
They're all friggin' more or less atheists, with a 70 to 80% atheistic. As far as the homosexuality thing, I think that has more to do with the puritanical roots of the U.S. rather than atheism versus theism. I mean, Puritanicalism comes from theism, but it's not the it's been stripped from the religious, and now it's more of a cultural thing here.
What was the comment, Wolf? Can you state it again? I didn't hear the whole first part of it.
Same-sex marriage is a sin.
Oh.
Yeah. Basically, being gay and and creationism, these are important aspects in the United States, but over there, it's they're chill, they're more liberal on it. So that's what that's what we were commenting on.
Gotcha. Yeah, and
go
ahead. Sorry.
I was having a conversation earlier. They've made rules that even private schools in England can't teach that homosexuality is a sin. and they can't teach that homosexuality is wrong and stuff like that. And the thing is, they have to do this as part of their sex education. It's standardized, yeah. And I was arguing with a friend of mine about this on another radio show that I was on earlier, and he was trying to say, you know, if these people want to set up a school, they should have the right to do them. I'm like, yeah, but then he's like, you're against freedom. I'm like, no, I'm not. But they're trampling on the freedoms of the gay people by making them listen to this bigoted hate speech. By, you know, that person has a right to exist as a gay person in a private school, and then not have to go through being bullied, not being allowed to go to that school, because people, what he doesn't understand is my friend is just repeating the sort of anarcho-capitalist propaganda that's been used by the government to get away with pulling really far-right fucking practices so that they can benefit. And that's what's going on. And this whole thing, they're trying to get everybody on a side with some nonsense. And I'm sorry, but this whole thing of homosexuality is a sin. Establish that there's a God first, then you could say if it's a sin or not.
And then still you can't impose it on someone else. And we were talking about this earlier. And either the government needs to get out of the marriage business, which I don't think is a possibility at this time, so we've got to deal with this issue. And if it had a good secular reason for it to be a problem, I would listen to it.
Yeah.
I've heard someone try to bring up a secular argument the other day that they said that it's shown that kids do better with their biological parents, two loving biological parents, and that's actually been disproven time and again, and it's still brought up. But the person also still thinks that it's still a choice. So when he said that, I stopped the argument.
Well, here's the funny thing about that whole thing is that if you think it all the way through, then it's kind of more like, depending on who the parents are in the situation, it could be worse or it could be better with homosexual parents, because women have been shown to abuse their children more than men have. So if it's two women, it could lead to that. You could argue that, and if it's two men, you could say that is possibly better, because you're removing the woman from the influence. But if you're talking about just homosexuality in general, you would have to say that it balances out to the center, regardless.
Yeah, and just to carry on about what Durkin said, that's actually a really good point. Yeah, I doubt Balos, dolphins, gray whales or tucks or anything like that. I doubt they choose, or other primates. I doubt they choose to fuck the other male like counterparts of their species. I doubt they have that's a conscious choice. I believe that's more like ingrained in their genes, but there's still research on that.
Someone starts talking about choice, I'm done discussing it with them. So
yeah. Okay, with that, I think I'm gonna wrap up the show. This has been a good panel. Now Xbox, I believe you had something to say before you getting off. But final thoughts all around. What you guys got to say? One more thing. I made the link public, so anyone who wants to come in for the after show, go ahead, because Wolfie's about to be out. Go ahead.
Yeah, right on. I wanted to give a shout out to Jordan Rivers, and some other people know her by a different name, but they know what I'm talking about. He set up that Eric Hovind debate, and I wanted to thank him too for the more of a discussion than a debate. We had a really good time. I appreciate Jordan providing the channel and the arena for us to do it in, and for inviting us into it. So just wanted to say thanks to them.
Chaz, Durkin, quick wrap-up words.
Pizza power.
Cool.
Watch my YouTube channel or I'll fucking stab you.
All right, awesome panel. This has been a good episode, and ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of Wolf's Radio Show. Now, I dropped the link. It's public, for my friends or in general. Step into the den for the after show. And until then, sape out, there's no. We out.
Later.
Motherfuckers.